After months of speculation, after not so subtle hints, after an owner that can barely keep his mouth shut, ladies and gentlemen, it is here. As you just saw, live and in living color in Chicago in the United Center, ladies and gentlemen, CM Punk is All Elite. Welcome to Shaun Show. My name is Shaun. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. I always say that before the show begins. This helps the channel, helps everybody out. I know you guys felt the electricity in the air. It's been a buzz literally all day leading into this very, very moment. The internet wrestling community has been going wild with speculation. Some people have been saying that, you know, we're going to be disappointed. Some people have been saying that it's really a swerve. He's with WWE because there's been WWE references. Some people are saying that if he does show up, it's not going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. But ladies and gentlemen, it happened. It's here. And now, rather than talking about the woulda, shoulda, coulda, we're now going to talk about the reality of the situation. The reality is that CM Punk is All Elite. So what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that now business can either pick up or go down. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm going to do it in a way that is not biased. Everyone's excited and pumped right now, as they should be. But we have to look at the reality of the situation on all accords. Now, normally when I talk about AEW, everybody criticizes me about what I talk about. Listen, I think AEW has a great pool of talent. They can compete with any organization, including the WWE, based off of talent alone. However, we are in the sports entertainment business. Even though this is a wrestling program, the styles are different. What makes wrestling great is the storylines. What makes wrestling bigger than life is the characters. What makes people tune in week after week after week is seeing the new conflicts or the new wrinkles in the storylines that people have. And that is exactly why AEW needs to refine and improve some things to get to the next level. But I want to talk about the positive right now. Let's talk about the positive, what CM Punk brings to the table. What CM Punk brings to the table is very, very simple. Number one, he is the number one guy that AEW likes. If you were going to create a prototype wrestler, this is CM Punk. And this is what I mean by prototype. CM Punk has been famous for bashing the WWE. He bashed the WWE in the pipe bomb promo, which is world renowned. He bashed the WWE in their world-renowned Thanksgiving interview with Colt Cabana. He bashed the WWE on WWE backstage programming. He bashed the WWE on interviews, on any opportunity that he has to bash the WWE, he does it. And he is the only wrestler on that roster that can say that he did it while he was being paid by Vince McMahon. He's the only one that can say that, right? So AEW absolutely loves sticking it to the WWE. Whatever they say, whatever it's a subtle shot, veiled shot, major shot, just whatever it may be, they absolutely, positively love taking shots at the WWE because it's like there's a window of opportunity to say something. There's a window of opportunity for the WWE to well, not the WWE, but AEW to get attention. If you look at really all of the interviews, every single one of the interviews, I don't care who it is, I don't care what they're talking about, I don't care what stature it is, whether it's Tony, whether it's Jericho, whether it's Taz, whether it's JR. Whoever has an interview, there's always a WWE question, and they always make sure that they answer it very disrespectfully. So now you got a guy in CM Punk who is going to quote unquote bring it to the WWE in a different type of fashion, because like I said, he's the only guy that's been paid by the WWE, right? That was bashing them on their channel, as well as, I think, arguably, he's one of the top talkers in the business. Now in AEW, he may be the top talker. I would absolutely love to see him, with more time and MJF with more time being able to speak in a very detailed back and forth promo. I would love to see that. But that's the top reason, is that he's a believable guy. He's a guy that's going to bring a lot of eyes to the television screen because people just want to see what it is that he has to say, and that's the entertainment aspect of it. Now, when we're talking about entertainment, let's talk about in-ring work. We haven't seen him work in a long time. We don't know exactly what to expect. AEW style is primarily very, very high-paced, spot after spot after spot. It will be very interesting to see Punk no longer wrestle the WWE style, but now he's going to be wrestling basically the indie ROH style that he was before he had to come to the WWE. He has been in the ring in a very, very long time. I think it's, 7-8 years. So it'll be very, very interesting to see exactly how CM Punk's style is going to be in an AEW ring, now that their work rate is basically higher than other competition, and they, now they're bringing to the table somebody else, I guess you can say, that has the experience, a ring general, that would be able to bring these guys that maybe are on the bubble, put them in a really good storyline to really push them to the next level. That is the two major reasons I see why you bring in CM Punk. I think the third is that we're talking about, something just flew in my eyes as I'm talking. I think the third with CM Punk is he has a name. He has a name. Now, is his name as big as Sting? No. Is his name as big as, and this is going to be controversial, Roman Reigns or Cena? No, it isn't. The Rock? No, it isn't. But in the indie scene, right, for the type of crowd and audience that AEW has, this was primarily the #1 guy. They've been clamoring for this guy since AEW started. This was the guy that they wanted. This is the guy that they know that if they bring them in, he's going to wear their banner proud. This is the guy that they've been speaking about for many, many weeks, many, many years, seems like, trying to bring Punk into the fold. And now he is in the fold. So the name may not be as great in terms of the entertainment spectrum, but in terms of the hardcore avid wrestling spectrum, this is a really, really big deal for them. This is going to move the needle. This is exactly what AEW needs, is a shot in the arm, and it's going to be very interesting to see how long. I think he signed for a few years, so it'll be interesting to see how many times he wrestles in that contract, and how many, like how long is a guy like CM Punk going to be I would say featured on Dynamite or featured on Rampage. How long is he going to be the guy that's on TV? Is it a regular basis? Is it a bi-weekly basis? Is it a special event? Those are the type of things that'll be interesting to find out. Those are all the positives. Now we're going to get to the negatives. Now the negatives, unfortunately, there always has to be a negative. There always has to be a crescendo and then a decline. It always has to be a yin and yang. It always has to be light and dark. It always has to be the negative. And this is what the negative is. CM Punk, unfortunately, in every organization that he's been in, has had something bad to say about it. Whether it's Ring of Honor, whether it's TNA, whether it's the WWE. Every time he's gone someplace, there's been something negative that has happened, and he himself says they don't know what they're doing. And unfortunately, that's just the track record. Look it up. There's nothing positive he has to say about any of the stops that he's made. There's always been some type of confusion over his character, or he should have went over, or this should have happened. And he always has the attitude of holier than thou, I know more than you. That's his attitude. And it's not anything knocking this man, because again, he is very, very talented at what he does. He has been able to sustain a buzz during this entire time period without stepping in the ring. But the reality of the situation is that, you know, he always has a problem, I think, with authority. If no one does things the way that he wants them to be done, then they are out of touch. They are not following what needs to be done. They are not listening to the crowd. that's one major thing that I think there's going to be a problem with. I think there's going to be a problem with if Punk doesn't get his way, he's not going to really play well with others, right? That's the first thing. Second thing that I think is an issue, if you think about what he said about Ryback, and he was talking about how Ryback couldn't work and how Ryback almost injured him and how Ryback is the worst wrestler in the world. Now, there are some wrestlers there that are very, very talented. But if he's going to be there to elevate some stars, there's a lot of guys that work is not that great. There's a lot of green workers. And you can watch the AEW Botch Twitter handle, and you can see literally how many botches happen on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, every time they come to air. And it has nothing to do with the talent, because the more that you wrestle, the more experience you have, the better you get. But they're putting you on TV, so you have to have a polished product, even if you're on just the internet. So I think there's going to be problems with Punk and with some of the workers that may not, quote unquote, get what he wants to do, or get the psychology, or get the business, because he feels that they're not at his level yet. And the final thing that I think is going to be the biggest problem. The biggest problem, I think, is that we may be running Punk out very, very quickly. It's been a lot of hoopla. There's been a lot of suspense to get him here. And you know that when somebody like his caliber is there, you want to see them every single time. I don't know if Tony Khan understands the concept of less is more. I don't think he understands that. So I think, unfortunately, they're going to run this man really out for the rest of the year, to the point that it won't even matter that he's back in the company. That's what I think is going to happen. Yes, you have a new horse. Yes, you have Brian Danielson coming in. Those are all facts, but we have to remember that AEW is going to be moving to TBS with Rampage. We got to remember that. So if that's happening, then we need to have a situation where the fans follow. And fans are going to follow if we put Punk out in front of everybody, and everybody is listening to what he's saying. Come and follow me on TBS. I may be having my first match on AEW Dynamite. Like, they're just going to keep running him over and over and over again. And I don't think they understand, like I said, less is more. I think that's going to be the biggest problem. Are we still going to be as excited as we are tonight? I mean, it's just the beginning. I'm not being the negative Nancy. It's just the beginning. But are we going to be as excited as we are now in, let's say, December? Are we going to be excited as we are now, let's say, February 2022? Are we going to be excited as we are now, September 2022? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Is he going to be booked correctly? Are we going to put him in places where it's not too much, but just enough of CM Punk? Now, this is the reality. It's going to hurt. It's going to piss some people off. It's going to do all these things. I'm just keeping it real with y'all, because that's all I know how to be, is real. CM Punk came back because that bank account is low. Let that sink in for a second. Okay. CM Punk came back because that bank account was low. He took the WWE backstage gig because that bank account was low. The whole thing with UFC is not going to pay him anymore because he lost fights. Bellator, I don't think will want to mess with him. Any major organization is not going to mess with him, because unfortunately he can't sell pay-per-view, so there's no reason to sign him up, because he's not seen as a quote-unquote winner, right? So the next best thing is you can get a big fat check from Tony Khan and his dad, because he needs the money. He needs that paper, that Skrilla, that guap, that cheese. That's what he needs. Once he gets that, once he fulfills this contract, however long it is, as I'm taping this, I don't know what it is. I'm thinking maybe 3 to 4 years. Once that's fulfilled, I think he's done. I think he's going to get one last check on this thing and invest in some things, and then he's going to be done. So enjoy this with CM Punk. Enjoy the moment, because you see that CM Punk has no problem taking time away from the wrestling business. So enjoy all of this. Let's not dampen the moment, because a lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people say, I hate AEW. I don't. We already went over that. So this is a big moment for wrestling, but now the pressure's on. The pressure's on. Now CM Punk has no one to blame. Now CM Punk has creative control. Now CM Punk has his homeboys, as well as an owner that's willing to do whatever he wants to do. The pressure is on. Let's see what you can do, because now this company is expected to be carried by CM Punk. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to see what happens. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you here next time on the Shaun Show. Peace.